Hello and welcome to this video presented by Advanced Data Business Systems. ADBS has been developing enterprise applications since 1981 for small to large organizations. This is the ADS video series and I am Thomas Wade Gonder. In this video, I will be explaining what is a user, how a user belongs to a user group, and then I'll show the creation of a new user as well as a new user group. Then I will make the new user a member of the new user group. I can see we're going to have to break that down a little bit. If you haven't yet seen video number 1, which is an introduction to the ADS, you may want to do that. Since logons are part of the security system, you may want to watch the 2002 video. A user in the ADS is someone that uses the ADS or uses an application developed for the ADS. A Windows user is different than an ADS user. For example, several people may use the same workstation in a store, the workstation functioning as a cash register. In this case, there may be only one Windows user, but several ADS users. Why? Imagine we have the ADS users punching in and out of a time card for our time management module. We also want to track the work that each user does, and this is logged using the user ID. This slide provides a lot more information on users and user groups. You can pause and read through it. The core of the ADS includes two modules, among others. The Application Universal module is where entities, i.e. people, are defined. The user table is part of the Data Administration module, and it links to the entity table. User groups are also in the Data Administration module, and it is managed by a Data Administrator. The Data Administrator is responsible for adding and modifying users, creating the different user groups, and making a user a member of a user group. The concept of users and groups is similar to what is found in Windows. Here is the Local User Manager application found in Windows. Let's see what happens when we log in using a user's unique code. I'm going to enter the user code that is supplied with the ADS Access Evaluation file, which is E5566, having a password of 9999. If you've seen some of the previous videos and now notice changes in the menus, it's because in version 123, the naming schema for menus and jobs has been modified to be more cohesive and logical. Now I'm going to click on the Data Administrator button and the user menu. Let's click on the user menu job 6292. This is a macro that we can run from the menus that will show all three tables involved with users, groups, and membership. For the moment, though, we will focus on the user table, so I will minimize the other two. Looking at the record for the user with a code of E5566, the one we use to log in, we can see an auto ID, the user code, and an entity ID. Notice that there is no name here. We can also see the user from the user form. Looking at the record for the user with a code of E5566, the one we use to log in, we can see an auto ID, entity ID, entity code, and the name. We can also see the password and a note. The password is masked in the table view, but not here in the form. Just like the entity form demonstrated in video 1001, group forms allow the client, that's you or whoever uses the software you develop with the ADS, to customize the data in the forms for your particular organizational needs without modifying the basic forms and how they function. More on that in video 2006. For now, we are interested in the member-related form because a user needs to belong to a user group. This allows us to have default menus and permissions for a group of users without having to add them for each user. We can see in this form, the user member form, the ID for the record, the user ID, the user code, which is what we use to log in, the entity ID, which is where the name is, the entity code, and the username. Down here, we can see a user group of developer. This user member form is a form based on a junction table, which is a many-to-many type table. So we've gotten a little ahead of ourselves by drilling down to the linked table. Let's go back and take a look at the user group table and form. Again, groups are the manner in which we manage users without resorting to tedious assignment of permissions and menu presentation for potentially thousands of users. This is the table for the user group. It has an ID, code, and descriptions, as well as a default menu that members of this user group will see after they log in. And there is a corresponding form for the user group table. Notice that it looks very similar in design to the user form. But wait a minute here. Looking at the menu for this user, we see 4 buttons. How can there be 4 default menus? As we said earlier, a user can belong to more than one user group, and that's where the junction table and form come into play. Looking at the junction table, we see that it's a many-to-many link between the user and user group tables. As you can see here, the same user ID of 1,0102 appears 1, 2, 3, 4 times, with a different user group on each row. In the user form for the user we were just looking at, we can go to his member form, and we can see that this is record 1 of 4. Pressing next will bring up each corresponding user group. To finish this video topic, let's do as promised at the beginning of the video and create a new user and a new user group, and then make a many-to-many member record with the related member form. We've got a new employee trainee for the storefront, but he's going to be a gopher since he's still a bit young. However, we'll still give him access to the store menu for trainees. Remember, this is just a demonstration, so there isn't really a store software here, just forms that are needed for building an entity. Elroy has already an entity record, but for him to use the system, we need to create a user record for Elroy. So we open the user form and press the New button. Let's keep it simple and make Elroy's user code E8888. Now we need to assign an entity. So let's do a right click and search to find Elroy. ELR, search. There he is. Use him. And let's give Elroy a simple password of just 8888. Let's see if that's enough to let Elroy log in. So we'll close down the form, log out, type E8888, password 8888, enter, enter, and something goes wrong. Well, if you remember, we created a user, but we haven't assigned Elroy to any user groups yet, so he's not able to get a default menu. I'll go ahead and log in again as the system administrator. Go to the Data Administrator menu, User menu, and go to the User Group form. And we're going to create a new user group for Store Gophers. So we'll click on New, and we'll call this Store. We'll call this Store Gopher, and give it a better long description, and a user group code that matches some of the others, and give him a default menu that we would give to the normal store users. And save it. If we wanted to, we could search and see all the different store groups that there are.
Now what we'll do is go to the member form for the store Gophers and create a new record for Elroy. There's nothing else we have to do at this point other than save it, close this form, log out, and log in E8888 and 8888 for the password. Enter, enter, and Elroy has the application universal menu. If he tries to run the entity form, he can't because he doesn't have permissions, but we'll be covering that in another video. Thank you for watching this video. Here are the two associated videos that I've mentioned.